Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to What a Week That Was, with me, doing the news. Alternative look at the week's news. We're going to be looking at various different things, including quite a lot of stuff that the Prime Minister of Britain, Rishi Sunak, has been up to. For God's sake, what's going on there? A lot of strikes going on here, there and everywhere in the NHS and whatnot. And also, Prince Harry will get a mention, at least once, unfortunately, as will Bolsonaro, Scotland, and the weather from last year. So yeah, we've got quite a lot to get through in quite a lot of time as well. Usually these things go on for about 2 hours. Hi Angela, welcome back up. Everything was okay with your unfortunate thing you had to do on Tuesday. I hope everything went as well as it could do under the circumstances. Yeah, we are going to be looking at the news, but I thought we'd look at some amusing news to begin with. So the QI, quite interesting Twitter feed, said that a study has shown that birds that live in colder places have smaller beaks. But it's another small thing they have as well. But the McGill University's blog published an article about the study with the headline, "Peckers get smaller when it gets colder." Insert your own, well, yeah, just don't, whatever you do, don't insert anything. And then Kay Burley, who works for Sky News and was actually brought up in Wigan, has come up with the one-liner, "Oh, Harry," which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Meanwhile, AP been telling people that Poland has decided to send a company of Leopard tanks to help Ukraine. This is the beginning of the week, and in the war against Russia. We'll have to wait and see what difference, if any, that makes. But there's more about that later on too. And the last weird thing on the BBC: a lone reader queues for Prince Harry's release of Spare. So they did a midnight launch, and there was one person who turned up at this book launch in Piccadilly in London, and it was just one woman who bothered to turn up. I personally think that's probably a bit of a con. I think more people would have turned up. But we are going to start with Prince Harry. Yay! I'm so happy. Said no one ever. Remember I said I'd got myself a proper diary so I could get more stuff in and not run out of space. Look at that. Unbelievable, Jeff. Unbelievable, the amount of stuff that's in here. It's been a busy week. So Harry, apparently, never had intentions in hurting or harming Prince William or King Charles. Hashtag, shut up, Harry. Oh, God, I can't stand it. Rishi Sunak, he had a chat with Laura Kuenssberg. They've got a bit of a thing for her, I'll be honest with you. Not Rishi, Laura. I don't know why, but anyway, there you go. He's agreed that the NHS was under pressure, but would not say whether or not he had private health care, despite being pressured to answer the question considerably. But he did the typical politician: "I'm not answering that question by not saying I'm not answering that question, but I'd say something else. Shut up, Angela. No, shut up, Harry. Even, yeah." So it was very typical. He's got the personality of a deceased gnat. He's about the same size as well, to be fair. But he's an adult, and I'd sooner have him in charge than anyone we've had recently. Yeah, he admitted the NHS is under pressure and pay must be affordable. So we will wait and see how that pans out. Meanwhile, in Brazil, they did an impression of America a couple of years ago on January the 6th, only they did it on January the 7th or the 8th. They basically stormed their House of Parliament and basically went on the roof, but looking at the architecture of it, it's like, no wonder they went on the roof. I was wondering why there was no handrails or anything. I thought, that's a bit dangerous, isn't it? It turns out there's no handrails because you're not meant to go on the roof. It's just the design of it, it's very modern. Anyway, they basically stormed the equivalent of the House of Lords, House of Commons and all that kind of thing, the Parliament, and demanded the reinstatement of Bolsonaro. Now, the police came in numbers, although there was a bit of rumour that the police actually agreed with them, so they didn't really do much to begin with, but we'll have to wait and see if anything comes from that. Bolsonaro at the moment is in hospital, apparently, in America, and they're trying to extradite him back so he can face charges for inciting a riot, although they've got no proof, or I've not seen any proof that he did, other than the fact that he's a complete pain in the posterior. It was also announced on Sunday that single-use cutlery and other items are to be banned in England, and rightly so, because let's be honest, let's be having you. Single-use cutlery and plates and those plastic containers that you have your takeaways in and everything, there's no way on this planet that they should be allowed, and I don't understand why we're still doing it. Anyway, they are going to be banned possibly before the end of this year. That's a good thing. I'm happy about that. So yeah, what we do now, we do this new thing where we do it in the days for the menus. Are you excited? Because now we're on Monday. Oh, I didn't forget. I nearly forgot, but I didn't forget to change it to Monday. So what happened on Monday? Well, surprisingly, the unions and the governments had some meetings regarding the current industrial action and talking about other actions as well. And the unions came out, typically being a bit, you know, we're upset, we're hard done by, oh, it's awful and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you're asking for stupid pay demands. I know the cost of living crisis is on, and I know inflation is high, but the inflation is not high on everything. It's high mainly on fuel and that kind of thing, and that should come down. So, yeah, just calm yourselves. It's not 1970s. I know I've said that before, and I'll say it again, no doubt, before the end of the thing. I do say, yeah, it's like a what do I say? It's a 70s throwback. There is rumours as well that the nurses and some other workers for the government will get a one-off payment, although no one said if that's going to happen, or if it does happen, how much it's going to be and what they're having. But yeah, Unite seems to think that things went better, but yeah, the rail union and the other guys were an absolute waste of space. Hotels are becoming popular, apparently. The NHS is looking at getting lots of hotel rooms and beds and whatever in order to put people in hospital into, so that they free up the beds in hospital so people can go in and get whatever it is they need doing when they need doing it. But the problem you've got is hotels are not the cheapest places in the world, and surely it would make more sense to do the Nightingale wards, which have been going on about for ages now, where you basically get an office block or something similar, which is not being used because, let's be honest, lots of them aren't now. Put some beds in there like we did with the Nightingale hospitals during the COVID crisis, at the beginning of the COVID crisis, and put people in there. You can have nurses there, they can see all the patients, they can deal with them. You don't need many, and you can use nurses who've recently retired, doctors who've recently retired, or students who want some overtime, or even volunteers who are medically trained, you know, St John's Ambulance, that kind of thing, in order to reduce the queues. More about the queues later, but that is, yeah, block booking hotels and things is not a good idea. Help for industry and companies, particularly for electricity bills, is being cut back at the end of March by 2/3, which means that the electricity and the gas, mainly the gas that these companies use, particularly if you're heavy industry like, you know, steel or that kind of thing, is going to go through the roof, and I think a lot of companies could possibly go bust. However, the gas price, wholesale gas price, is lower than it was now before Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Yet they're telling us that our prices are going to go up in March. Well, hang on a minute. I got the prices going up because of the price increase of wholesale gas worldwide, but I don't understand why now the prices come down we don't have the prices coming down. We should have fluctuating prices that, you know, they can make a percentage of profit, so when the prices go down, they still get their percentage of profit from what we use, but the price goes down rather than keeping it as is or even putting it up. There is something going on here that is very, very wrong indeed. And as a business owner, although albeit not heavy industry, and I say business owner, I haven't actually got a business at the minute, but hopefully new soon, then something's got to be done, because people are going to lose their jobs, and then we get pushed further and further and further into a recession, which is not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing. The main interview at the weekend, or Monday or whenever it was, of Prince Harry in the UK on ITV, I think it was Sunday, wasn't it? Viewing figures were lower than that for Happy Valley, which is apparently some drama on the BBC. Never seen an episode of Happy Valley, although I do like the odd BBC drama. I did like The Bay, for example, and I've watched every series of that so far, which is quite good and well written. But anyway, Happy Valley beat Prince Harry because people are not that interested. And basically, what do we say? We say hashtag shut up Harry and let's watch Happy Valley instead. We were about to join the space race by using an aeroplane. Now, I didn't really get this. They were saying that this we're going to launch satellites from British soil for the first time ever, and these satellites are going to go up into space. And you're like, yeah, that sounds good, sounds cool. Sure up, Harry. Yeah, very good, Angela. But they're not launching it from the UK. They're launching it from an aeroplane flying over the Atlantic Sea. It's not quite the same thing. And I always fear that, because I've watched, I don't know whether it was Thunderbirds or something similar, or a TV show where they drop a rocket from a plane and then the rocket fires up and takes off and comes up in front of the plane and destroys the plane. But anyway, that didn't happen. But it took off on Sunday night in order to be the to give us our first ever satellites launched from the soil of Britain. But it wasn't. It was launched from an aeroplane over the Atlantic, so I don't get it. And Gareth Bale, the Welsh football player, has retired immediately from football. So that's international and club football too. So we don't know whether he's got an injury that is not mentioned, or an illness, or he's just got, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I've had enough. And he's off. He's off ski. And you're like, well, you can't argue with Gareth Bale. Mainly because I've never met him. That was Monday. What was going on Tuesday? Well, wouldn't you like to know? It's alright, I'm going to tell you in my own unique way. Hi Smiley Mac. Hello as well. Hello T, if you're around. Hope you're good. A book came out on the 10th of January 2023. Paranormal mystery called Snuffed Out by Valona Jones. And that was the big release of the 10th of January, which was Tuesday. Because what else would be coming out that people were interested in? Oh yeah. But if it's half price already, then it kind of shows. If it's that big a book, then people would pay the full whack, wouldn't they? But you know what we say? Shut up, Harry. Harry, shut the fuck up. Harry, shut up. For God's sake, Harry, shut up. Meanwhile, in the real world, sorry, my thing's just gone weird, as in my screen and whatnot, not my thing, that'd be weird, and if it was I wouldn't tell you. Yeah, in the real world, senior managers have said that the strike by ambulance workers the following day, this is Tuesday, so on Wednesday, would be a bigger risk to health than the strike last year that they had, because the call handlers were coming out as well. But we'd have to wait and see on that. The government also said that they were going to come up with a law so that when people go on strike, they have to give a minimum service. so it doesn't impact people too much, because the general public, when the trains are on strike, can't get to work, and some workers won't get paid because they've not turned up. And obviously people need to get to work if you work in the NHS, or if you work anywhere, to be fair. So they're on about doing these what's this? £14 for Harry's book. I'd rather spend it on laxatives. Yes, Angela, I would as well. I'll lose a bit more weight, and it'd be better for me, but I'm not doing that. But yeah, this new law, it basically means that you can't walk out and leave no service. Now, to be fair to the ambulance workers, and particularly the paramedics, if there was an emergency, they said, and they're all in uniform and the ambulances were nearby, that they would get into the ambulance and go to the emergency, but they would only go to emergencies, life and death, etc, etc, etc. Meanwhile, in Scotland, the teachers were on strike. They want a 10% pay rise, which I think is reasonable, to be fair, compared to 20% that a lot of other companies, a lot of other unions are asking for. But the Scottish government is only offering a paltry 5%. Then we had 2022 was the year where we had 9% more excess deaths in 2022 than we did in 2019. Now obviously we've had a lot because of COVID, but for the entire year we've had considerable excess deaths, which is rather worrying, and some people are saying it is because of the problems that the NHS has got, but more of that later. We haven't finished with Russia yet. Also 2022, the climate, the poles and Europe suffered more than any other part of the world with the rising temperatures and the extreme weathers. Now I would possibly say that Australia and America have had it pretty bad as well. But anyway, going off the figures, apparently it was Europe and obviously the poles that have done really badly. Now the more ice that melts, the more the sea rises, and the more the sea rises, weirdly, the warmer it gets. The warmer it gets, the more ice melts. The more ice melts, the sea rises, and you get the idea. We're in a vicious circle at the minute. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, Solidar is under Russian control, says Russia. Although Ukraine said, no it's not, we're still fighting for it. It's a little salt mining town. A lot of people are wondering why it's so important to both parties, but apparently it's on a route that Russia needs to supply a lot of troops. So if Ukraine get it, it kind of cuts off that supply route, so that's why they're fighting for it. But there's only 10,000 people lived there before the war. Now there's about 10, I think, living there. There's also two British servicemen, two British volunteers who've gone missing, aid workers, and reportedly a body of our British aid worker had been found, and well, nothing's been proven yet, but hopefully it's not them, and hopefully they are okay, but just out of the communications areas. Going back to the launch of our satellite, which wasn't a launch of our satellite because it didn't launch any of the satellites, which were only about the size of a shoebox, maybe a bit bigger, but they were only tiny. I'm like, really? What can that little thing do up in space? But obviously things get smaller, so I dare say it can do quite a lot, but it didn't make it. It detached from the aeroplane, it fired off from the aeroplane, it went up, it lost the first part of the bit that falls off at the back, which it was meant to do, but then there was a problem and it didn't actually make orbit and come crashing down to Earth, destroying all the little satellites in there. All the baby satellites are all deaded. So we failed. We are not in the space race. Hang on a minute, just checking something. Oh yeah, that's it. I'm over it. But it's not all bad, because on Wednesday, what happened on Wednesday? Well, the ambulance workers managed to go out on their strike. I've got to find a picture of that. Where are they? There they are. There was no major incidents, and in fact, if anything, it went despite the doom and gloom from the day before, it actually went a lot more peacefully. I think the British public know when there's a strike on not to unnecessarily ring the ambulances. It's a shame that they don't do that when the ambulances are on. You know, for example, if you're having a heart attack or a stroke, or you're falling down the stairs and you're unconscious, or you broke your leg or your arm, your hip or whatever, then that's an emergency, get it sorted. If you've cut your finger or you've got a bit of a sore throat, that's not a 999 thing. That is a sort it out yourself, put a plaster on it, have some cough medicine or whatever, or get yourself to the doctors or the pharmacists, because the pharmacists are doing more now. I'm saying all this and I'm like the world's worst. I've not been to a doctor since I was 11, and that was before many of you were born, never mind anything else. Many of the strikers though saying it's not about the pay, it's about the NHS issues. But let's be honest, it's about the pay. If they'd been offered 15-20%, whatever it is that they're after, they wouldn't be striking. But get this, in France, massive protests by health workers. That's a picture from the spring one. I couldn't actually find one from this one, but I did see it on the news. But yeah, they're protesting about pay, conditions and everything else in France. And later on there'll be stuff about what's going on in America. They're also a bit upset about a lot of stuff. Meanwhile, the mercenaries in Ukraine, many of which are ex-convicts, have been released to fight for Russia, and they're private fighters, and they're called the Wagner Group. They're the people who reckon they found one of the bodies of the British missing men, but trustworthy they ain't. I mean, Russians generally are not trustworthy, but Christ, these guys, I mean, they are murderers, rapists, child molesters, whatever you want to call them, and they've been sent to war, and Vladimir Putin, as we said last week, is looking for another 500,000 troops. Yeah, he's scraping the barrel already. I mean, I think now he's through the bottom of the barrel, and he's just going through the detritus that lives underneath the barrel. Although, to be fair, I think he's already there with the Wagner Group. And there was a sad story. We lost Jeff Beck, who was 74, who was a very popular guitarist. He also had the big hit single Hi Ho Silver Lining, and it's Hi Ho Silver Lining, da 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 da, that one, which apparently he didn't like. He hated it, and he actually recorded it under duress. Anyway, he's passed away this week, aged 74. Now, I need to go to London. I was going to go this year, but obviously money, basically. I never got there. But I want to go to the museums and look at various things, including the Elgin Marbles. Now, there's more kerfuffle about the Elgin Marbles. Basically, they were, I was going to say stolen, acquired by British people, I'm using the term loosely, like a lot of the stuff in the museums, they were acquired and they were brought back to the United Kingdom, but not just the UK. You can say Spain, they did a lot, Portugal did a lot, Italy did a lot. The Germans, World War II, they did a hell of a lot of acquiring stuff. And obviously, you know, a lot of countries have done this over the time. Hi JT and Rachel, hope you're good. And they're now saying that maybe the Elgin Marbles should go back to where, you know, they were originally from. And you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And let's be honest, you could scan these with, you know, scanners, obviously. Duh. I don't mean the dot ones that you get in the supermarket. I mean, you know, proper laser scanners, 3D scanners. And then you could 3D print them. So we could have copies to look at whilst the originals are in the source country where they came from. And that's all well and good. But then you're like, but would they be looked after as well in certain countries? Maybe we should send them the copies. Anyway, it's all kicking off. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But the British Museum say no, they belong in Britain, even though they were acquired. Cute animal alert. Well, it's not that cute, to be fair. It's a seal. This seal has basically gone on holiday. It's gone to its own private heaven. because of the flooding and everything, it swam up a river and somehow ended up in a lake. But not any lake, it's a lake where people go to fish. And it's competitive fishing as well. So you're talking proper fish. You're talking carp and stuff like that. And the guy who owns it is losing lots of money because they can't do anything about the seal because they're protected animals. They're trying to catch it and put it back in the wild again. But the seal's a bit reluctant because it's like, you know, I've got an all-you-can-eat buffet here. And it is doing. Apparently it's put a hell of a lot of weight on whilst it's been there. And the owner has lost a hell of a lot of money. But either way, it's an amusing story which makes me feel happy about stuff. It doesn't happen very often, so let's enjoy it, shall we? So that was Wednesday. What happened on Thursday? I'm still remembering to do this. I'm actually quite impressed. I didn't think I'd better remember to do this. I bet it got the seal of approval. Oh, very good. It's, yeah, it would have got 5 flippers out of 5, wouldn't it? For the accommodation and the food. And it's living on the island. It's just where no one can actually get to it because it's on an island. It's just brilliant. And I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was certainly there on Wednesday anyway. So, Thursday, figures came out, and unsurprisingly, they were the worst A&E figures on record. And if you had a serious incident, this is not when the strikes are on, this is just generally. If you had a serious incident like a heart attack or a stroke or all the other things I said earlier on, ambulances could take 90 minutes to arrive instead of 18, which is where they're saying that people are dying, hence the stuff that we were looking at before with the excess deaths from last year. And once you get there, the average is 4 hours in A&E before you get off the ambulance. That seems to be the average at the moment, and some people are on the ambulance for considerably longer than that. Biden doesn't normally make it on this part, but he's been a bit of an idiot. Classified documents have been found in one of his houses in a garage next to his Corvette. Now, numerous questions are: 1, can you prove he put them there, or were they put there by someone else? 2, who found them, and why were they in his garage, rooting around? And 4, I don't do math, I'm not Rishi Sunak. Why has he got a Corvette? I mean, the Widowmakers, aren't they? Corvettes. Anyway, he's in trouble, so we'll have to wait and see if anything comes from that. I don't think it's going to be like Trump, though, on all his documents, because there was only a handful, apparently. But I think there's rumours as well, they found more somewhere else. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak, he actually went to meet Nicola Sturgeon, but he couldn't be bothered wearing a suit and a tie, so he wore some jeans and a cashmere, no doubt, jumper and a silk shirt with the top button undone and no tie, because it was an informal meeting. Using his finger, not another guy for once. Sorry? He's using his finger. I'm confused. Yeah, basically, he did a lot more than Liz Truss, who didn't even ring up Nicola Sturgeon when she was Prime Minister. To be fair, she was only Prime Minister for a few minutes. They talked about various things, informally, including the NHS. And what else did they talk about? Oh, yeah. Oh, the Biden picture. Let's have a look. Go back to the Biden picture. All right, I'm with you now. Yeah. Yep. Let's go back to Rishi. And obviously Nicola Sturgeon would have gone on about the referendum for them to leave the United Kingdom. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, no, you can't do. Then other times you're like, for God's sake, just go away. Just go away. Please, just leave us alone. Meanwhile, Andrew Tate, no relation to the Tate family from Emmerdale, unfortunately. He's now, well, there are schools in the United Kingdom and possibly in other parts of the world as well, where they're actually having lessons discussing what an absolute twonk he is, and how he and his views that he puts across, whether he believes them or not is another thing, but he puts them across in sensational ways, and teenagers, particularly boys, are lapping it all up like it's gospel. And, you know, my grandson is only 5, but if he was 15 and he was listening to Andrew Tate and all that, then we'd been having some serious words. He's hoping he doesn't drop the soap. Well, to be fair, I think other people in there are probably hoping they don't drop the soap. Allegedly, obviously. But yeah, he deserves everything he's getting, that guy. There's more about him later on. Meanwhile, after the paranormal book was released on Tuesday, sorry, Harry's book was released on Tuesday, the royals ventured out. King Charles and Camilla were out and about, and William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, were in Liverpool to open up the new Royal Liverpool Hospital, which apparently is going nipples up, literally. The A&E department is not fit for purpose, and it is just completely overrun with people and trolleys everywhere and everything. It's an absolute nightmare. But Wills and Kate were aware of it, and they basically asked the nurses, you know, what could be done to sort it all out. But we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, around the country, the rainfall has been ridiculous, particularly this month. There are many parts of the country where they've had a month's rain, the equivalent of all January's rain, average January's rain, by the 10th of this month. So they were only a third through the month, and they've already had a amount of rain equivalent of the whole month that we normally get. And I must admit, I've been out today and I was up in Preston, and when it rained, my God, it rained. And even today, the rain rattling on the windows in the last hour or so, absolutely shocking stuff. But anyway, you know, global warming, if you speak to some people, isn't a thing that doesn't affect anyone. I'm not so sure. Anyway, that was Thursday. I nearly forgot them, but I didn't. What about, look at this. I mean, this is like almost professional, isn't it? No, it's not. No, it's not. Russia. Yay! Everyone's favourite. Nothing. I don't know. On Friday, Russia claimed it had captured Soledar in Ukraine. But Ukraine say it's still being fought over. But more people now thinking that Russia has actually acquired the small town. But things might change. A case that's been going on for a while now is the, I think it's the French footballer, international footballer, no doubt you'll correct me, and the Manchester City footballer, Benjamin Mendy, who's been on a 6-month trial, charged with many rapes, but he was acquitted, cleared of 6 rapes, found not guilty on 6 rapes, which is good news for him. But there were 2 cases that were not agreed on by the jury, so he's going to face a retrial. So not so good news. But he's already said, and his lawyers have already said, that even if he gets found not guilty, he won't be able to play football in Britain again. But that's because he's a bit of a misogynist. I think he was listening too much to Andrew Tate, I'll be honest. Colin Chapman is a guy who's been charged and has been in court for the murder of young Ellie, who was shot on the Wirral over the festive period. Hopefully they've got the right person, and hopefully justice will be done. The economy surprisingly grew by 0.1% in December, and yeah, no one knows quite why. It's a bizarre thing because everyone's kind of got no money. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Millions of UK people are going to be given statins to lower their cholesterol. That was also announced on Friday the 13th. And there was a massive gas explosion in Lithuania. It was possibly thought that it was a terrorist attack, but it turns out it was just lack of maintenance. that did it. Lack of maintenance on a high pressure gas pipe. Why would you ever do lack of maintenance on something like that? Meanwhile, Donald Trump had a bad week. His company was fined $1.6 million for tax issues, shall we say. But not himself, just the company. But if the company is named after him and he runs the company and his family runs the company, then it is him, isn't it? Let's just not beat about the bush here, or beat about the Trump, because the Bushes are long gone ex-presidents, aren't they? Talking of long gone, Lisa Marie Presley passed away suddenly as well. This picture was taken on Tuesday at the Grammys, and she passed away on Thursday, and she was only 54. She was the only child of Elvis Presley, and her mother is the Priscilla Presley, who I fancied when she was in Dallas, I'll be honest with you. She was very glamorous when she was in Dallas, but that was a long while ago. To be fair, she doesn't look any different now because of the plastic surgery. But tragically, Lisa Marie had been facing demons all her life, and she'd basically blown her father's fortune. She still had money in the bank, but she's blown a lot of the money on drugs and lavish lifestyle and all that kind of thing. But yeah, she passed away from a heart attack, or cardiac arrest, as they say in America. Rishi's had a busy day today. Oh, hang on. And I did forget then. Oh no. Right, we're on again. It's fine. I blagged it. It's fine. Rishi's had a busy day today. Berating and getting very angry, to be fair, with the Iranians, because they have executed a dual nationality English USA person who was allegedly spying for Britain, but there's no proof that he was, and it was just a political Iranian publicity stunt. It is Saturday today. Keep up. This is what happened this morning. Also today, Russia's announced that we're going to send at least a dozen Challenger tanks to Ukraine to fight the Russians. And you like thinking, oh, it's a bit dangerous, isn't it, sending tanks? I mean, we've sent loads of other stuff before, so maybe not so. And Putin has stuck his oar in and basically said, if they do that, it will just drag out the war for longer, or drag out the conflict for longer. He wouldn't say war, would he? Whilst at the same time, his troops are bombarding the whole of Ukraine again with missiles and targeting civilian people. I mean, this is an apartment block that's been destroyed. There's hospitals have been hit. There's again what they've repaired for the utilities that have been bombed before have been bombed again. Okay, no worries. You take care, Angela. Nice to see you. Hope everything's good for you. Yeah. See you later. But yeah, it's just shocking what is going on in Ukraine, and you know, Putin's got to pay for at some point for this. Talking of paying, this is breaking news. Tesla have dropped the price of a lot of their cars by around about 20% in order to get more sales. It seems like a bit of a panic move, but we wait with breath of beta to see what happens, because these cars are not cheap to manufacture. Admitted, they're not cheap to buy. A brand new Tesla, you're looking 40, 45 plus grand to buy a new one, so they ain't cheap. But if they're slashing 20% off, the margins can't be that good. Either that, or the parts they're going to be putting in the cars from now on are not as good as what they were, or whatever. But it's a bit worrying that Tesla are dropping the prices. Having said that, I've always said, and I always will say, as far as I'm concerned, they are not the future. Electric cars are not the future. We know that, you know that, I know that. We all know that. Anyway, it's now time for Meanwhile in America. Lol, 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 America. Dum, dum. America, what do you think of America? Think they're all mad and they teach babies to eat stuff they shouldn't be doing. No, maybe not. I don't know. What do I know? What's going on here? Let's feed babies batteries. Yes, exactly. I don't know why this has come up first. This is one of the latter ones, I think. A smuggler was caught with Santa Clauses stuffed with cocaine, which is a interesting present for the kiddies. Santa came to town with £20 of cocaine. The guy was caught smuggling bricks of coke in stuffed Santa toys at JFK Airport in December after arriving from the Dominican Republic. More powdery drugs were also found in 2 airplane neck pillows and the lining of his baggage during a Custom and Borders protection screening. He appeared in court. Santa had a night. Yeah. I mean, he looks wasted, doesn't he, in that picture? Crikey. Yeah, you're not supposed to, use it. Yeah, we seem to be going the wrong way here. Let me just look at something, see what's going on. Where are we? Dum 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 dum. Sort by name. Right, is that better? Or is that? No, that is. No, we are the right way around. Yeah, ignore me. Ignore me. Let's go back to ascending. There we go. Yeah, it's me. It's fine. We're fine. We're fine. I was just panicking then because it all went wrong last week, if you remember, because of this new layout we've got. But yeah, Santa got wasted. Where do I get most of my news from? The BBC Sky for the weekly news, and then I just have to write it all down, and then find pictures for everything I'm going to talk about. It takes ages. And then all this lot is Snapchat, bizarrely. New York Post Snapchat, the Indian is Snapchat as well, and the Australian news is mainly Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, this, for the amount of views I get and the amount of money I make from this is by far and away the worst thing I do. But I enjoy doing it, so I do it for the fun of it. To be fair, I enjoy doing all of it. King John's daughter may determine North Korea's fate. I mean, I don't know whether North Korea should be having a fate. You know, what these little things, little stalls around where you have, you know, like hook a duck and all. It's basically like a fair. But anyway, his 9-year-old daughter is possibly going to be organising the fete next year. I usually use ITV News on Snapchat and LBC News on the Global Player app. The ITV News on Snapchat is just weird. So I don't do anything with LBC at all. Last November, North Korea conducted a successful test of its largest intercontinental ballistic missile, the Hwasong 17, or what some experts have named the monster missile. While the test made clear how far Pyongyang's ballistic missile program has advanced in recent years, the spectacle was quickly upstaged by a pair of unlikely attendees: the 33-year-old wife of North Korea's supreme leader and their 9-year-old daughter. And they are wondering now if the 9-year-old daughter is already being trained up to be a leader. America. Right, you good laws are. More than 330 cops were shot across America in 2022, police group says. A total of 331 were shot across the country in 2022, a 6% increase from 2020. Of the officers who were shot in line of duty, 62 were killed, 32% up from 2020. The police group said the past year has been one of the most dangerous years for law enforcement in recent history due to the increasing violence directed towards lawmakers. America, there's a simple solution. Sort your fucking guns out. Thank you. Meanwhile, Pentagon told to scrutinise 8 decades of UFO documents. Now, do you believe in UFOs? Don't you believe in UFOs? I think if there was UFOs, we'd know about it by now. I think it's very, very unlikely that there are UFOs that we don't know about. Or we do know about. Oh, I don't know. Do we know? Don't we know? Who knows? I know, you know, we know. Yeah, it is backwards. We are doing it backwards for some reason. That's what I was thinking. This is recent news. So I don't know why it's doing it this way around. But anyway, it doesn't really matter, does it? We're not doing the daily thing. So the truth is still out there. While no recent alien sightings by service members were confirmed to be extraterrestrial life, on the latest government report out this week, Congress is requiring the Pentagon to look into its UFO files dating back to the end of World War II. There were 366 newly identified military sightings of unidentified aerial anomalies. But there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about. Testing of rockets and things. I'm still trying to figure out why this is the wrong way around. It's really doing my head in now. What's that then? What is that? Right, okay, we'll cancel that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into this, go back to that, click on view, sort by date created. There we go. Yeah, Snapchat has changed the way it does stuff by the looks of things. Mind you, it's changed the format as well, and everything. If you've got Snapchat, you'll notice if you're doing a selfie, it comes up with a weird, different thing. Let's have a look, see if we can do this. Oh, hang on, no, don't do that, you idiot. Let's close that down. Right, so, if I spin that around, and then point that at there, you see at the bottom there, that's new. That used to be within the picture, and now the picture is smaller. So yeah, they've changed the format of Snapchat, and I think they've changed the way that it saves the blinking photos as well. The way it timestamps them and everything, which is really annoying. Anyway, we've gone back to Santa smuggling, and why not? It was an amusing story. We've done that one. We've done. Oh, hang on a minute. Right, why is it not doing it? Why is it doing it this way? Why is it doing it this way? Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I don't understand why it's doing it the way it's doing it. It's really annoying. Right, let's go back to this. Let's go out of the thing completely, and then go to that, and then click on that, open that up, click on OK, and then go back to that, click on that, go up one, click on that, and then click on that, and it's still in the same order. Right, so I'm going to have to look at this and come back to it next 8th, 14th. Yeah, they're all the timestamps and everything are completely wrong, unless, oh, maybe no, we might be all right actually. Oh, this is so complicated. Try this picture. Right, here we go. You remember last week, the breaking news was the 6-year-old who'd gone into school and pretty much deliberately shot his teacher. The Virginia mayor, 66-year-old shooting teacher Abby Zwiener, is a red flag for the country, even not the county, the country. There's been many red flags for the country, America. For sake, wake up and smell the roses. If they're not roses, smell whatever it is you're smelling. But yeah, it's just tragic what's going on. I mean, that 6-year-old, you know, when you're 6, you remember things. He's going to remember shooting his teacher for the rest of his life. But it does say later on that his parents may well be charged, and you kind of, yeah, let's hope that does happen. New York City, here we go again. New York City shootings cost taxpayers at least $350 million in hospital bills, because obviously they have to pay over there, and if they don't pay, then it comes out of the local government. Shootings in the Big Apple are bleeding taxpayers to death. Americans collectively spent at least $350 million to treat gunshot wounds in New York City hospitals alone over the course of a decade. With Brooklyn and Bronx accounting for more than 70% of the city's medical bill. The federal taxpayers, all of whom chip in for Medicare and Medicaid, were on the hook for between $30 million and $40 million worth annually. So yeah, not good. Meanwhile, UK schools grappling with teens brainwashed by Andrew Tate. Now, we've already covered this, but teachers, and this has been reported in America, teachers in the United Kingdom are creating lesson plans to re-educate teenage students who have been brainwashed by the misogynic influencer Andrew Tate, according to a report. Tate, who is locked up in a Romanian prison on charges of rape and sex trafficking, has had a toxic effect on teens who have embraced his hateful ideology, forcing teachers to address his views with their students, holding special lessons during breaks and stuff like that. 1 dead and 57 injured in an accident on Mexico City Metro. At least 1 person was killed and 57 were injured on a train collision in Mexico City's Metro early on Saturday. The person killed in the morning accident was a young woman. Again, you know, you're going to work, and you do wonder sometimes about the safety of these countries where they've got this technology. Iranian man busted in his underwear on suspicion of planning chemical warfare in Germany. An Iranian national was arrested in his underwear. I mean, I don't know why there's another one that says he was naked when he was arrested. Does it really matter what they're wearing or not wearing? I mean, if you get someone out of bed, you know, if the police come barging into my house at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be naked because I sleep naked in bed. So what would happen there? Well, oh yeah, he was naked. Ooh, it's disgusting. Or whatever. Or if you wear pyjamas, was arrested in his pyjamas. It's just mad. Anyway, he was reportedly caught trying to deploy biological weapons in northwestern Germany. The 32-year-old man had obtained cyanide and ricin in preparation for a serious act of violence. Again, thankfully, they caught him before he managed to do anything, but horrendous. 7 people hospitalised after a roof collapsed over a pool at Idaho Hot Springs. At least 7 people were injured when a roof over a pool at the hot springs collapsed. The roof collapsed at a privately owned Givens Hot Springs around 1:45 p.m. on Saturday, while multiple patrons were in the geothermal pool. The county sheriff's office said 6 patients were transported to local hospitals. You go somewhere thinking that you're going to get some health benefits, and you end up in hospital. It's not good, but looking at that, it doesn't look great. A customer shoots and kills an armed robber at a Houston restaurant. An armed robber at a Houston restaurant was fatally shot by a customer when he demanded the other patrons hand over the money, authorities said. The shooting unfolded inside Rancho Tequila around 11:30 p.m. on Thursday, when a masked suspect walked in the front door, pointed a gun at customers and demanded their money and wallets. Disturbing footage of the incident shows terrified customers hiding under tables, and then the customer stands up, shoots the guy dead, gets the money back, and gives the money back to the customers. who'd been robbed. And you're like, that's just America. Sort your gun laws out. Wild video shows rhinos charge as tourist safaris in India. Right, we're invading their space and noisy, loud things with lots of noisy, loud things on the noisy, loud thing. What do they expect rhinos to do? These tourists trip to India came to an extra charge. These tourist trip to India came at an extra charge. Terrifying footage has captured rhinoceroses storming after a safari tours in India, forcing drivers to frantically try to outrace them. In one clip, a one-horned rhino is seen chasing a group of tourists at the Manas National Park. The massive mammal, which can run at a speed of up to 35 miles an hour, pursued the vehicle for about a mile. Yeah, we shouldn't be there. We should leave the animals to be on their own. Now, someone's been, I wear clothes that don't fit me. That's part of the fun for me, looking like an idiot. So, I should be buying medium or large t-shirts. So I buy small or extra small t-shirts. So I just look like a bag of blancmange. And yeah, someone's actually took up my fashion style. New guidance for drugs, surgery. Use drugs and surgery early for obesity. Get some new teeth. Use drugs and surgery early for obesity in kids. No. Children struggling with obesity should be evaluated and treated early and aggressively, including with medications for kids as young as 12 and surgery for those as young as 13, according to new American guidelines released on Monday. The long-standing practice of watchful waiting or delaying treatment to see whether children and teens outgrow or overcome obesity on their own only worsens the problem that affects more than 14.4 million young people in the US. I'm sorry, but doing surgery on teenagers, young teenagers, for obesity, no. And piling them full of drugs as well, no. There are ways of doing it, and that is not the way of doing it. Russia, everyone's favourite, no. Russia says it's killed over 600 Ukraine soldiers in a rocket attack. Russia's defence ministry said on Sunday it had killed more than 600 Ukrainian servicemen in a massive rocket attack on buildings in eastern Ukraine, temporarily housing Ukraine forces. It said the strike on Kamarusk was a revenge for Ukraine's deadly attack earlier this year on Russian barracks in part of the Donetsk region controlled by Moscow's forces. But no one can verify this has happened. The only people who say it's happened is the Russians. And we know that how trustworthy they are. Meanwhile, in Taiwan condemns China for latest combat drills near island. China is definitely gearing up to do something here. Taiwan condemned China on Monday for holding its second military combat drills around the islands in less than a month, with the Defence Ministry saying it detected 57 Chinese aircraft. China views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory and has been ramping up military, political and economic pressure to assert these claims. It's scary to think that we could be ending up having another war going on. As we said before, China is saying that Taiwan is part of China and never has been not part of China. Taiwan is saying it's a self-governed democracy. The rest of the world is saying it's a self-governed democracy, but the rest of the world is saying it's not its own state or country. It's very confusing, but the sad thing is it could end up with a war, and we don't need another war. Andrew Tate was possibly hospitalised in Romania. Disgraced influencer Andrew Tate's Twitter account posted a story on Sunday saying he or his brother ended up in the hospital while being held in a Romanian jail on suspicion of sex trafficking. The online account posted a vague message that read, "The Matrix..." Oh God, this guy has attacked me, but they misunderstand. You cannot kill an idea. Hard to kill. It's not clear who wrote the tweet, but it included a link to a report from a Romanian outlet, Spy News, which said Tate or his brother, Tristan, ended up going to hospital. I mean, again, it's like we've had Shut Up Harry. I think we need a Shut Up Tatey. New York City Hospital dodges nurses' strike as others prep for a really bad situation. You know, we've got the issues going on here in the UK with the NHS and the nurses and all that kind of stuff. We've already seen in France that the health workers are protesting and demanding better rights, better pay and all that kind of stuff. And in America, one of several city hospitals facing a looming nurses' strike reached a last-minute agreement with the union on Sunday, as top doc at another facility warned of a really bad situation if its nurses walk out. The nurses at the Mount Sinai Morningside West came to an agreement with management on Sunday afternoon, even as thousands of other nurses prepared to strike at 6 a.m. Monday at Mount Sinai's main campus. So yeah, nurses are striking all over the world. All over the world. Oh, I'm sorry, a bit of VLO then, do apologise. Yeah, anyway. Seattle public schools sue big tech for creating youth mental health crisis. Seattle's public school district is suing some of the biggest social media companies, demanding the platforms pay up for poisoning kids' brains and making it harder to teach. The lawsuit, filed Friday by Seattle Public Schools against companies behind TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat and YouTube, is seeking compensatory damages to expand the district's mental health resources. Yeah, that's never going to happen. It's never going to work. I think the main problem you've got is allowing kids to take those things to school, and parents allowing kids to use the stuff unchecked. And obviously, you've got to be over the age of 13, and many of these things to open accounts, and over the age of 16 and 18 and 21, depending where you are in the world, to use different other apps. So if they're not actually checking the age of someone, then maybe we should sue them. I've just talked myself round. New York sees a 30% spike in COVID deaths in December, most since early 2022. Yeah, it's winter. We know this is going to be a seasonal thing, because people stay indoors more in winter. Plus, you're going to, instead of going for a walk or a bike ride, you're going to get on a bus, or you're going to get in a taxi with your mates, or whatever. So COVID is going to spread. Plus the new variant spreads like crazy. So yeah, obviously there's going to be more deaths. There's probably going to be more deaths in January in New York as well, and February, and maybe March, but then it'll die down again, because it's spring and people going outside again. COVID deaths in New York State spiked 30% last month, the highest tally since early 2022. Nearly 3 years after the virus first ravaged the state, the analysis shows there were 915 deaths linked to coronavirus and its variants in the Empire State in December, about 30 a day, compared with 664 deaths in November. The monthly death toll hits levels unseen since February 2022. I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a politician yet, but even I know why. It's like flu cases go up in the winter because people are closer together. It's common sense. Maybe not. We are talking about America, aren't we? Meanwhile, a Virginia teacher shot by 6-year-old was trying to confiscate the gun. Yeah, I'm standing as a local councillor again this year. See if we can get in. The first grade teacher in Virginia, who was shot by her 6-year-old student, was about to confiscate the gun when the child pulled the trigger. She was going to confiscate it, and that's when he shot. That's what a parent of one of the children in the class told the Washington Post. She was shot about 2 p.m. on Friday. She was listed in a serious but stable condition at Riverside Regional Medical Center. hopefully she will make a full recovery. But yeah, you go, why would you confiscate a gun off a 6-year-old? Well, yeah, because the 6-year-old shouldn't be having a gun, I suppose. I don't know. Russia claims deadly attack, but Kyiv denies anyone killed. The Russian military claimed again to have carried out deadly missile strikes on barracks used by Ukrainian troops in relation for the... I read too fast sometimes. My brain cannot keep up. The Russian military claimed on Sunday to have carried out deadly missile strikes on barracks used by Ukrainian troops in retaliation for the deaths of dozens of Russian soldiers in a rocket attack a week ago. Ukrainian officials denied there were any casualties. The Russian Defense Ministry said its missile had hit 2 temporary bases housing 1,300 Ukrainian troops in the eastern Donetsk region. Who do you believe? I mean, it is, again, it's, you know, there's going to be propaganda here, there and everywhere, isn't there? More than 7,000 New York City nurses go on strike as contract talks break down. More than 7,000 nurses at 2 major Big Apple hospitals went on strike early on Monday after negotiations over contracts and staffing broke down overnight. Nurses at Mount Sinai's hospital's main campus on Madison Avenue and 3 locations walked out in the early morning hours. So yeah, it's not just here. Everyone keeps going on about, oh, the government this, the government that. I mean, the government is rubbish, yeah, but it's all over the world. Prince Harry says future UK move would be unsurvivable. That's right, because you're practically as hated now as much as... I mean, I'm not a royalist by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think airing your dirty laundry the way that Harry's doing it is doing anyone any favours whatsoever. I don't think it's going to affect the royal family whatsoever, but it's definitely affecting Harry, and he just doesn't shut up. And it's a case of, Harry, shut the cup. I thank you. We will be coming back to him, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Judge blocks. Shut up, Harry. Tesco was filled with his book. Lots of places are filled with this book. I went to Waterstones and it was filled with the book. I've been in Wigan a few times, but the book numbers don't seem to be going down, and there was no one buying it when I was there, although I admitted it wasn't the day it came out. But yeah, no one cares, Harry. You're just washing your dirty laundry, and Harry is making himself look the bigger fool now. We all know that families argue. We all know that the royal family is exceptionally close and all that kind of stuff. And we all know that things don't always go the way you want them to go. But to be a spoiled brat and just going on and on about it, I mean, you know, as people have said before, I mean, they haven't said this, but you can't help who you're born to. You can't help being born into royalty, or being born on the streets, or being born in a favela in Brazil. You can't help where you're born. You are born wherever you were born, and you get the life that you can make from the situation that you're born into. But let's be honest, Harry seems to be making the situation he was born into considerably worse, and I'm worrying for his mental health more than anything else now. It's just not good. So hopefully it will sort itself out, but yeah, a bit scary. Judge blocks some of New Jersey's new gun restrictions. A federal judge on Monday blocked parts of a recently passed New Jersey law restricting where people in the state may carry guns, an early test of some of the state's efforts to pass gun control measures in the wake of US Supreme Court ruling last year expanding gun rights nationwide, which makes no sense. He wants to step down, but he still talks about the royals. It's gone from Kanye to Harry. You're right. He's put an E on the end of Harry. And then we'll call him Ye then as well, can't we? Put them together and shake them. Put them in a bag and shake them up. US District Judge said that the state's new restrictions violated the right to bear arms guaranteed by the Second Amendment of the America. You wonder why you've got so many people being killed by guns? It's because you're fucking stupid. That's why. I mean, it makes me beyond angry. It really does. And I would never go to America, ever. Oh, hi Carly as well. I saw you come in, but I don't think I said hi to you and all that. So hi, I hope you're good. A massive 7.6 earthquake damages buildings in Indonesia and was felt in Australia, in Jakarta. A powerful deep-sea earthquake damaged village buildings in a lightly populated island chain in eastern Indonesia on Tuesday, and its substantial shaking was widely felt in northern Australia. 2 school buildings and 15 houses were damaged in the Tambia Islands, with one of the homes heavily damaged and 3 moderately damaged. Only 1 injured resident was reported, so that's good news. But yeah, there's a lot of earthquakes going on at the moment, which is slightly worrying. Yeah, hello Carly, good to see you. Eric Adams wants New York City offices to be homes after workers slow to return. With in-office workers still slow to return to pre-pandemic levels, New York City Mayor Eric Adams on Monday unveiled his push to convert a big chunk of that underused office space into new apartments for New Yorkers. It sounds like a good idea. They're building all these office blocks everywhere around the world, and we've literally, because of COVID, we've gone 15 years into the future, and people can work from home. Technology is there to do it. You can have meetings, you can share computer screens with people wherever they are in the world, and you're not polluting the planet by using any transport to get to or from work. The bad news is, if you've got a business in a city, you are screwed. We talked about this extensively last week, but the Mayor of New York City does seem to be having a good idea. That said, a lot of apartments that are sold in New York are sold in New York and Manchester and Liverpool and London and Madrid and Paris and Munich and Berlin and Sydney and all that, because people work there. But if you don't have to go to the office anymore, why would you want to live in a city apartment when that money for that apartment, especially if you get out quick before prices fall, could buy you a really nice house, a detached house, many bedrooms in the sticks, and then you could commute in 2 or 3 times a week on public transport. Jobs are good. Anyway, I'm not in charge of the world, so it's not up to me. Work from home is home to work is home. From work from home to work is home. Yeah, that is yeah, exactly. Ukraine reinforces Bakhmut as fierce Russian assaults continue. Fierce fighting continued around Bakhmut, Ukraine on Monday, with Ukrainian forces sending reinforcements to counter relentless assaults by Russian paramilitaries, easy for you to say, trying to capture the minds of the region. Ukrainian officials said on Monday that additional forces have been sent to the Solidar, 5 miles northeast of Bakhmut. Now this is the town that we were talking about before, with the salt mines and everything. This was earlier on in the week. We're back to running in the right way now. Work from home, but only if you have to. But work from home, but don't work from home. We stop saying work from home, don't work from home, work from home, because I'm getting very confused now, please. My brain's hurting. My brain's hurting too much now. A Virginia 6-year-old used his mum's gun to shoot hero teacher. The gun, which a 6-year-old Virginia boy used to intentionally shoot his teacher, had been legally bought by his mum, and it's unclear if he planned to target more people. I doubt he... The teacher had probably said something to him that's upset him, like, you know, you're rubbish at math, because they don't say maths over there because they can't talk proper, or, you know, you've got to play with Harry, not Prince Harry, good God, no, that'd be horrible, but, you know, Harry in the class, or whatever, or don't smack girls, or whatever. And he's got upset, and then he's found the gun at his mum's, because his mum has just left it lying around somewhere. He shoved it in his bag, and he's gone to school to teach the teacher a lesson. I imagine that's what he's 6. He's not going to think, I'm going to go around and do a mass shooting. He's 6 years old, doesn't know what a mass shooting is. But anyway, the small fry shooter took the .9mm Taurus handgun from home, stashed it in his backpack, and brought it into class at the elementary school in Newport, when he shot the 25-year-old teacher. He shouldn't play with Harry. The family don't have the best reputation for that. Very good, Smiley. A good job I didn't say Andrew, isn't it? Otherwise, oh Christ, yeah, that would have been a can of worms that we didn't need opening. Meanwhile, in America, parents of 6-year-old boy in Virginia school shooting could be charged. Could? Should? In what situation do you leave a loaded gun where a 6-year-old can get it? I mean, how many times have I done these things? I mean, I've done it for the What a Week That Was for quite a while now. Yeah, only a chance. Only a chance. Could, maybe, happen. Possibly. Not sure. No, definitely. And they should have the child taken off them as well, because they're not responsible adults. You don't leave a loaded gun where kids are. How many times have I read out stories where a child has accidentally shot another child in an apartment because the parents left the gun lying around and they were messing around with it? They are not toys. If you've got a gun, which I don't think you... I mean, that says Rich Neck Elementary there. I think it should be Redneck Elementary. But if you've got a gun, you've got to be responsible with it. And leaving it, you know, where kids are is beyond irresponsible. I mean, for Christ's sake, in the United Kingdom, if you buy washing tabs to put in your washing machine to wash your clothes, the advert says, keep away from children. It's washing powder. That's how serious we take things and we look after our kids. And we don't feed them batteries either, America. But America, sort your gun laws out. It's a chance to be sunny proceeded to rain all day. Yeah, rain's coming again anyway. But I'm shocked at, you know, there's a possibility that they may get charged. Andrew Tate due in Romanian court to appeal detention. The divisive social media personality Andrew Tate is expected in a court in Romania on Tuesday to appeal against a judge's earlier decision to extend his arrest period from 24 hours to 30 days. Good luck. We feed them teapods. Teapods? What's a teapot? I don't know. Firebug arrested for setting discarded Christmas trees ablaze in New York City. He looks like an angry Santa. He's got a Led Zeppelin shirt on as well, so he's a heavy metal angry Santa. An apparently homeless man set a bunch of discarded Christmas trees ablaze on a Manhattan street on Tuesday. The flames spreading to a nearby dining shed and damaging a number of cars. He was arrested shortly after as he alleged to set 4 trees which had been left out for trash on fire at 5:50 a.m. Imagine trying to get 30 days removed. I think that'd be the least of his worries. Yes. Oh, Tide Pods. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Oh, get your hashtags ready. Shut up, Harry. Prince Harry slams dangerous spin about killing 25 Taliban fighters in Afghanistan. Prince Harry slammed the dangerous spin that he boasted about killing 25 Taliban fighters in Afghanistan in his new memoir. The Duke of Sussex condemned the dangerous lie after he was widely criticised for discussing the killings in his book. I think he's got no filter. I don't know. I know people who've been in the army. I know people who've been in battles. You know, actual active service. I know people who've been all over the place. And I'll be honest with you, I've never asked, nor has it ever been forwarded, any casualties that they've either encountered on their side or given to the other side. Because that's not what it's about. It's about protecting your country and whatnot. I mean, he was a hero for doing it. Now he's a fool. And even the army are like, you know, I'd be interested to see if he does the Invictus Games this year and how many people actually turn up. Because I could imagine not many. Anyway, yes, hashtag shut up Harry. Hashtag buy Harry a filter. Absolutely. White Castle are hiring robots to give the right tools for serving more hot and tasty food. White Castle's newest employee, Flippy, cooks your burgers to perfection and serves up fries with the most splendid crisp for every single order. Flippy gets it right each time because it's a robot. At 100 White Castle locations nationwide, I assume obviously it's America, so it's going to be like a Wendy's or a Burger King or whatever. A guest can see Flippy in action, helping its human colleagues with cooking and expediting the process. Burgers served up by Wally. I have hashtag I have some books to burn. Yes. I don't know anyone who's bought it or anyone who's admitted to buying it. But yeah, I nearly bought it, I'll be honest, but only so I could read it to say that I didn't want to read it. And then I thought, no, better off just not buying it. I give it enough publicity as it is. Tons of food gets tossed by New York City hotels because migrants won't eat it. Now, again, it's not just Britain that's got a migrant issue, it's many, many countries around the world because of stuff that's going on in various other countries. Be right back, dog needs a wee. Okay. Nearly a ton of taxpayers' provided food gets tossed in the trash every day at a massive Manhattan hotel being used to house migrants because they'd rather secretly cook their own meals on dangerous hot plates, a whistleblowing worker has revealed. Disturbing photos show garbage of bags of sandwiches and bagels awaiting disposal at the 4-star Row New York City hotel near Times Square. So yeah, basically they're trying to feed these people American food and they're not Americans, so they're not going to eat it. So what you do is you give them the food that they would eat, and that way they don't end up cooking stuff and you don't end up throwing stuff away. It's common sense, isn't it? Lucky I didn't buy it. I got to watch some paint dry. That's a book, isn't it? Yes. Very good. Very good indeed. Oh yes, yes, Miss Moneypenny. New York City may break 50-year record for most consecutive days without snow. As the country marches into the heart of winter, several cities along the 195 corridor have yet to record their first measurable snow of the season. One of these cities, New York City, has been snowless since March the 9th. At 308 days, this is the 4th longest snowless streak the city has ever seen. New York's record for consecutive snowless days is 322, which was set in 1973. New York typically sees its first measurable snow by December the 11th. So, I know. But I thought they'd had that massive cyclone bomb thing that just froze everything, but maybe it was just frozen rain that they got, or maybe it didn't reach New York City because it was kind of went round it, didn't it? Because it was a cyclone. Ah yes, Miss Moneypenny, we've got a cyclone. A Park Slope deli owner tries shaming shoplifters who thieves with Thieves of the Week video. A fed up Brooklyn deli owner has come up with a new way to try and stop a group of local teens from repeatedly shoplifting at his popular Park Slope store, publicly shaming. The proprietor of Green Olives and Deli Grill Juice Bar on 7th Avenue has begun displaying Thieves of the Week video behind the counter, hoping to discourage a troublesome group of local high school girls from robbing him blind. I think that is genius. Absolute genius. Did you make this week's number one? No, because I didn't even steal a carry bag from Tesco. That's one of my main pet hates at the moment. You read all about it in the paper. In fact, you can read all about it online when I put it up, because I have all my blogs online. What's next? Uvalde school police chief admits he deliberately left kids in classroom. Sounds like something they're there for, yes. The Texas police chief blamed for the disastrous response to the Uvalde school shooting admitted making the horrible call not to rescue kids trapped in with the gunman, even after hearing a lot of shots and the killer reloading. He was fired, rightly so, but I think he should be charged with homicide for the children killed that they could have saved. because there's no excuse for that. You're a police officer, you're fully trained, there are small tiny children being killed one at a time, and your officers don't do anything. Vladimir Putin taps hybrid warfare general to lead Ukraine war. He's had that many different people now in charge of the Ukraine war. It's not a war though, is it? It's Ukraine military manoeuvres. It's quite worrying. No doubt the previous ones will all be falling out of hotel windows or having a weird car crash or something. But anyway, Russia's war in Ukraine is under new management. Moscow's military defense said on Wednesday it had placed General of the Army Valery Gromyshnyov in command of the Kremlin's faltering Ukraine invasion. The change in leadership is due to the need to organise closer interaction between the types and branches of the armed forces. What it basically means is we need someone to actually know what they're doing, which obviously no one in Russia seems to. Nobody's fallen out of a window this week. I must admit, I do look for that now. And no one's mysteriously fallen out of a window or had a rock fall on the car and get killed. Oh, hang on a minute. A giant boulder, crushes a car in California, and a phone call saves driver's life. A California driver narrowly escaped death after a giant boulder tumbled down a hillside in Malibu and crushed his car. The close call took place on the Pacific Coast Highway, where he had parked his Toyota Prius across from his house. Just moments after he stepped out of the vehicle to take a phone call, he heard a loud noise and saw a 4-foot boulder smashing into the roof of his car. So I don't think the phone call necessarily saved his life. I think he just got out of the car. But either way, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Sorry, a bit of Culture Club there. I do apologise. Ooh, that's a little rocky. Yes, I bet it felt a bit rocky afterwards as well. New York law banning guns in sensitive areas can continue, said the Supreme Court. New York can continue to enforce a new state law that bans guns from sensitive places, such as schools. I mean, for God's sake, schools' playgrounds, they should automatically worldwide be banned from people having guns at. Not special legislation that you have to put past the Supreme Court. And Times Square, which also makes sense. While the legal process plays out, the US Supreme Court ruled on Wednesday the justice turned down an emergency request from New York gun owners group that challenged the Concealed Carry Improvement Act and asked the High Court to lift the order so that they could take guns to schools and playgrounds. If he didn't have the phone call, he'd still have his car. Yeah, that's a possibility as well, but it's a Prius, so I'd probably want to get rid of it anyway. You can imagine he deliberately pushed the rock off the cliff. Allegedly, obviously. I mean, I don't know the guy, but yeah, it's a possibility. It is a possibility. Meanwhile, 3 people were shot across the Big Apple on Tuesday, including one man who was killed in Brooklyn, authorities said. He was blasted multiple times in the torso and the right arm. He was pronounced dead when he got to hospital. 2 others were hurt in separate incidents. America, sort your gun laws out. What is wrong with you people? I mean, you know, we get the odd shooting in Britain. I think there's actually been a shooting today, somewhere in Britain, which I'll no doubt report next week. But yeah, it's just continuous. AOC dragged for claiming gas stoves are linked to brain damage. You're like, what? A Republican Senator Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, attempted to defend President Biden's proposed ban on gas stoves in a viral Twitter spat on Tuesday, only to be heckled herself by snarky social media users. Do you know that ongoing exposure to NO2 from gas stoves is linked to reduced conjunctive performance? The Bronx and Queens lawmaker, I mean, for God's sake, shut up. I'm in London at a funeral. Sorry? I'm confused now. It doesn't take much to confuse me, but Smiling back, what? A megalodon shark tooth discovered by a 9-year-old girl in Maryland. Molly Sampson, a 9-year-old fossil hunter. She's 9. 9-year-olds hunt everything, not just fossils. Found the tooth of a megalodon whilst combing at Calvert County Beach in Maryland. Donning camo overalls and baby blue winter hat, Molly was wading through the water on Christmas morning when she came across the tooth of the long extinct shark species. Yeah, and it made the news for some reason. I don't even know why I picked that, to be fair. I think it's because it's a megalodon, and there was a film like called Meg. No, the shooting was in London at a funeral. Oh, right. That was it. Yes. I thought you were at a funeral in London then. I'm like, what? Oh, it ties with this, I think. That's probably why. A beached 6,000-pound killer whale dies in first known stranding in southwest US. A 21-foot killer whale weighing up to 6,000 pounds died after breaching itself on the Atlantic coast in central Florida on Wednesday. It's the first stranding of its kind ever recorded in the southeast USA. The adult female orca found itself stranded before dawn on a beach in Palm Coast, located more than 60 miles south of Jacksonville. Yeah, tragic case, and whales do this a lot, beach themselves, and no one knows why. Why don't people push it back in? Probably because there was only it's a very small, very lowly populated area, and it weighed 6,000 pounds. That's very heavy. It's very heavy. And to be fair, they can't even do it with sharks, and sometimes dolphins. They put them back in the water and then the dolphins swim back on land again. It's very peculiar. This is hilarious. Prince Harry's spare displayed behind How to Kill Your Family in a bookstore. It got the royal treatment. An independent bookstore poked fun at Prince Harry's scathing autobiography by placing the memoir beside Bella Mackay's novel How to Kill Your Family. Brett's Books in Swindon, England, shared a photo of the store's front display on Monday featuring the two books alongside each other. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Problem is, I think the royal family know how to... Anyway, yeah. Allegedly, obviously, because I don't know. Now remember our... I'd rather the other one, yeah. The transsexual with his fake... Freudian slip there. Breasts. Well, we're back in the news again. Also, shut up, Harry. Yes, indeed. School board orders dress code after trans teacher with giant fake breasts sparks protests. A Canadian school board has demanded a new professional dress code for teachers following months of backlash over a trans teacher with clownish giant prosthetic breasts. Trustees on the Hatton District School Board unanimously passed a motion on January 3rd ordering the Director of Education to develop a policy to ensure appropriate and professional standards of dress and decorum in the classrooms. They're fake, I would never have guessed. No, yeah, and the kids in the class have been banned from taking pictures of their teacher. Mind, they shouldn't have the mobile phones there anyway, should they really? But anyway, that's a different story. Romanian cops raid 7 homes tied to Andrew Tate investigation. Romanian anti-terrorism cops raided 7 homes on Thursday as part of the ongoing investigation into accused sex trafficking and rapist charges against Andrew Tate. The Directorate for the Investigation of Organised Crime and Terrorism, which that's a hell of a title, they've shortened it to DIICOT, which is still a mouthful, announced the raids early on Thursday as the 36-year-old US-born influencer remains in custody facing a slew of serious sex crime charges. Yeah, I have no sympathy, I'm sorry. I mean, you know, I'm not an influencer, but if I was, I wouldn't take advantage the way that some people do. New York City nurses' strike ends after a deal reached with hospitals, so eventually something was dealt with, but this is like 3 days later. And they are private companies as well, hospitals in America. US births continue to decline as nearly half of women under 45 are childless. I'm teethless as well. The number of births in the US has continued to decline, repeating a decades-long trend, as nearly half of American women under 45 are childless. Now, a lot of women under the age of 45, pardon me, are like under the age of 25, and I imagine most of them are childless, so it doesn't really make sense. About 52% of women between the ages of 15 to 44 give birth between 2015 and 2019, a drop of nearly 55% in the prior 4 years, according to the study published by the National Centre for Health and Statistics. If they made it cheaper, it wouldn't be as bad. What, the book? A Wisconsin boy, aged 14, is accused of shooting his girlfriend over their breakup. 14, and he shoots his girlfriend because she's broke up with him. I didn't have a girlfriend when, mind you, I didn't have a girlfriend when I was at school, because I was the horrible, smelly, spotty one, so no one liked me. A 14-year-old Wisconsin boy allegedly shot his girlfriend at least 3 times in the head after she tried breaking up with him. The girl, identified by the family's 14-year-old, is miraculously expected to survive the shooting. Eli Olson of Raccoon was charged on Tuesday as an adult for attempted murder and possession of a dangerous weapon. America, sort your guns out immediately. How can a 14-year-old have the gun to shoot his girlfriend? I don't understand why they don't see the problem. I really don't. Idiot with a gun shoots 2 kids, 6 and 9, on a DC bus going home from school. 3 people, including 2 elementary school kids on the way home from school, were shot after a gunman unleashed an attack on a Washington DC bus. The shooter was aiming for another rider. The 9-year-old and 6-year-old were shot, and an adult man was shot twice. And they refer to him as an idiot with a gun who shot indiscriminately. Anyone with a gun is an idiot. Yeah, exactly. That's what I've just said, Smile. You're right. They're all idiots. This is a tragic story. A 5-year-old boy got swept away in the California floods that have been going on with the bizarre weather we're getting. And he basically told her that he'd be alright and she should save herself. And he was 5. And they've still not found his body yet. Horrendous. My grandson's 5, and it just doesn't bear thinking about something like that happening. King Charles is obsessed with childhood teddy bear, Harry reveals in hashtag shut the cup Harry. Pot-related ER visits amongst the elderly Californians explored by 1,800% since 2005. Green and grey doesn't always mix. Pot-related emergency room visits for Californians over the age of 65 have exploded by 1,800% since 2005, according to a new study. Accustomed to the milder marijuana of their youth, older cannabis users are often unable to handle more potent forms now readily available to them. Did Nanny bake those brownies again? Yes, for Zachary. Absolutely. Amtrak train delayed for 37 hours prompts passengers to call 911 over hostage fears. An Amtrak train was delayed for 37 hours. Hashtag Charles on the Bear. An Amtrak train got stranded for 37 hours in South Carolina, leaving passengers so panicked they were calling 911, believing they were being held hostage. The auto train left Virginia at 5 p.m. on Monday and was supposed to reach Orlando, Florida by 10 a.m. Tuesday, but was forced to change course after a CSX freight train hit a vehicle left on the tracks in South Carolina. Thrown off its route, the Amtrak train then experienced many delays, and yeah, it was like planes, trains and automobiles. Now, I don't think I've ever said this before, but Americans are thick. Yeah, I've said it a lot, particularly over guns and having to tell people not to feed batteries to their babies. However, this is a new level of what the absolute are you guys up to? Are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, Virginia bill would recognise a fetus as a carpool lane passenger. Now, if you don't know what a carpool lane is, basically what they're trying to do is to reduce congestion and traffic. They want people to do a car share, a bit like the TV show that Peter Kay did a few years ago. And so that means instead of two people who live near each other going to work in two separate cars on their own, they are taking in turns, or one picks the other one up, and they drive in together. And if you do that, if you've got more than one person in the car, you can then use the equivalent of a bus lane. This Virginia bill would recognise a fetus as a carpool lane passenger. Remember that? No, they couldn't get off the train because it was stuck in the middle of nowhere. I mean, yeah, I don't know what the toilets were like. I remember the high percentage that think brown cows make chocolate milk. Yep, that is true. Lawmakers say she's driving for two. A fetus will be recognised as a passenger in carpool lanes and toll booths on Virginia expressways, according to a new state bill. A woman must provide proof of pregnancy to the state's transportation department to get the privileged driving status. After she has proven that she has a fetus inside her, she is then allowed to drive registered cars in the carpool lanes. But imagine you're in traffic and there's a carpool lane and a woman drives past on her own. You'd be like, why is she allowed in there and I'm not? You wouldn't know she was necessarily pregnant. Is the fetus working? Yeah, the fetus is working, Carly. It's so sad they can't leave the fetus at home anymore. They have to take it with her. Damn, and that's me thinking I could I've used my fatness to use the bus lane. No, it doesn't work like that. But yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. And it just makes less than 0 sense. There is nothing in that statement that makes any sense at all. It is just ridiculous. It's the most stupid story of the week. The most stupid story of the week. That's saying something. A bus lane is better than a bike lane. Yeah, that's what I said on my leaflets when I was standing for election as a councillor. Because a bus lane takes cyclists, taxis, motorbikes and buses out of the main traffic. And whereas a cycle lane only takes cycles, and let's be honest, who rides a cycle? Period. Anyway, you need to watch my political stuff that I did. I think there's a playlist on here somewhere. Official at Virginia school knew a 6-year-old boy had a gun hours before he shot teacher. Now you're like, what? At least one official at the Virginia school where a 6-year-old boy shot his teacher last week knew the child had brought in a 9mm gun, well, 0.9mm gun, with him. No, it was a 9mm gun, wasn't it? To class hours before the shooting, but did not take the weapon away. The Newport News school superintendent revealed that he told parents during an online town hall Thursday night meeting that they knew that the kid had the gun. No, they knew it was a gun, but they didn't try and take it off him. And when the teacher did try and take it off him, when she realised he had a gun on him, he shot her. New Yorkers tell painful tales of inflated food costs while grocery shopping. Again, everyone says the British government is useless, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, yeah, they are. But a lot of the problems we've got are not just in Britain, they're all over the world. And America, things have gone up so much. Eggs per dozen were $1.48 in 2020, and now they're $4.25. Chicken has gone up from $1.52 to $1.83. But yeah, inflation is everywhere, all over the world. Well, that 6-year-old has a gun, that's fine, typical day. I just hope he's had his daily batteries. I do like that, very good, very, very good indeed. But yeah, it beggars belief that they would think that it was okay to leave a 6-year-old with a gun. I mean, they probably didn't know it was loaded, but it's still a real gun. Anyway, that's the end of Meanwhile in America. We're now going to G'day. Meanwhile in Australia. My Australian accent is beyond crap. Yeah, so what's going on in Australia? Now, Australia is a weird place. I mean, we know that anyway, but yeah. The Prime Minister says the government is keeping watch. Oh, hang on. Let's get that back in place. There we go. The Prime Minister says the government is keeping a close watch on new super-spreading COVID-19 strain. Well, that's what governments are meant to do, isn't it? I mean, you know. Does Skippy have a gun? He has it in his pouch. And let's travel to the upside down world. My phone is upside down ready. Excellent. Yeah. That's what governments are meant to do, isn't it? In my humble opinion. What's this one? It comes as infections have increased by almost 30% in the state over the past year. Now, to be fair, in Australia it's summertime, so in theory cases should be going down, not up. Oh no, this is Strep A now. Strep A, completely different thing. Strep A is the smallpox thing, and it's affecting children more than anyone else, and yeah, it's incredibly dangerous. But yeah, it's peaking in Australia at the moment. Now, last year there was a lot of controversy about the Australian Open, whether or not it was going to be let Djokovic play or not, and he ended up kicking him out of the country because, well, we don't know, but we assume he wasn't vaccinated. And I said at the time, it's up to the individual to decide whether they want to be vaccinated or not. But if you decide not to be vaccinated, you cannot expect to go to a country where it is mandatory that if you enter the country you are vaccinated and be allowed in. It makes sense that it's your right, it's your body to do what you want with it, but you have to respect other people's laws and things. But this year they're going to allow COVID positive players to play. I mean, if you've got COVID, I think the last thing you want to do is play a tennis match. No, they're going to let them play. It's like, what the hell? Australian house prices going downhill. Australian home values have marked a record decline in the first week of the new year. To be fair, house prices in the UK have gone down as well in the beginning of the new year. Again, it's global. All these things are global. People think they're not, but they are. They are global. And then we got this. Coles, which is a supermarket chain in Australia, extends popular price freeze policy, cost of living crisis. Supermarket giant Coles has announced it will be extending its price freeze policy beyond January 31st as the cost of living pressures continue to impact Aussies. Both Coles and Woolworths implemented similar policies last year, locking in prices of hundreds of products as increasing inflation and interest rates took a significant toll on consumers. But Woolies' policy has since expired. Woolworths is still going in Australia. It's not the same company, but yeah, it's still going, big trading. There is a company trading as Woolworths. Yeah. I knew someone would question Woolworths. Yeah, it's, the British ones went bust, God, decade ago, more than a decade ago. But in Australia, it's a separate company and it's still going strong. So yeah, this is a pretty picture. Hundreds of sharks believed to be primarily bronze whalers, with a few great whites lurking nearby, have been snapped in a credible photo taken off Kangaroo Island. They're thought to have been following the migration of the southern bluefin tuna in a feeding frenzy. And I do like sharks. I must admit, I do like them. I mean, I wouldn't go on a date with one or anything, but you know, I do like them. I wouldn't eat one either. Although I've eaten one. I don't know, I might have eaten one. Have I? I don't know, Raggy. Public transport users in Victoria could soon be able to pay for their commute by using their credit card, with a tender process underway between the Victorian government and tech industry leaders. I know it's Victorian, and Victorians are a little bit behind, you know, they're still using steam power and all that kind of thing, but surely to God, in a country like Australia, you can pay by card when you get on a bus. I mean, you can pay by card in Wigan when you get on a bus. Surely, why is it a thing in Australia that you can't? Oh, the Star Wars theme. Now, over here, McDonald's has got various different names. Mackie D's, Mackey's, McDonald's, Golden Arches, or as my grandchild used to call it, Happy Meal Place. But in Australia, I don't know if it's a throwback to the Beatles, but they call it Macca's. And they've launched a controversial menu item. Potato scallops with chicken salt are in restaurants from today. I want them. I love scallops. I literally love scallops. I've not had them for years. But I'd have them instead of chips. Do you know what a scallop is? In Wigan they're called smacks. And they're called potato cakes in other places as well. But yeah, it's basically a thin slice of potato which is then covered in batter and then deep fried. I can feel a cooking video coming on. Can you feel a cooking video coming on? Because I can feel a cooking video coming on. We have potato fritters. Well, yeah, I mean that might be what you call them, but I say they're called different names. Where I was brought up, they were called scallops, and from the chippy. And then when I moved to Wigan, I got told they were called smacks. And you go into a chip shop and say, "Can I have 2 smacks, please?" And then the woman behind the counter leans over and goes like that. And you went, "No, I meant the fish, the things like that." Another thing that I used to like, and I could do this with the bassa fish actually. I haven't got a deep fat fryer though. Was 2 scallops together, but before you put the batter on it, you put some fish in the middle, and then squeeze it together, and then you batter the whole thing, and then you chuck that in the deep fat fryer, and you get fish cakes, which is a slice of potato in batter, slice of potato in the batter, and then fish in the middle. And obviously it doesn't take a lot to cook fish, so by the time the potato's cooked and the batter's cooked, the fish inside is cooked as well. And some of my favourite bit was when a bit of the batter hadn't actually cooked all the way through, so you had like a nice moist bit of batter in the middle of it as well. What's chicken salt? I don't know what chicken salt is, I'll be honest with you. I think it's salt that tastes like chicken. I mean, I don't care about the salt, to be fair. I just want the scallops. So yeah, leave it with me. Did you see my McDonald's double sausage and egg that I did this morning? that looked like a McDonald's double sausage and egg when I'd finished it. I couldn't believe it. Amazing. Anyway, I've cooked since then. Aussie tourists rescued from New Zealand's Wk2 in New Zealand, obviously. The tourists reportedly didn't realise the route was a one-way only and required a boat ride to get back to the start, and it prompted a police rescue. I've no idea any more about the story other than Australians are a bit thick. Talking of thick, Elon Musk is sets a record for the world's largest loss of personal fortune, and you're like, poor Gad. I'm not seeing today's. I'm waiting for payday. Then I'm trying your M&S burger. I must admit, some of the burgers are amazing. I do. The former world's richest man lost about 165 billion US dollars from November 2021 to December 2022. His losses stem largely from a fall in the value of his shares of his electric car firm Tesla after he purchased Twitter last year. Guinness World Records say it surpassed the previous record of a mere $56.8 billion loss suffered by a Japanese tech investor in 2000. You've got to love it, haven't you? You've got to love it. And then, flood disaster has cost 5 billion Australian dollars in 2022. Like I've said before, it's not just the Northern Hemisphere that's got these problems. It's all over the world. And there's a guy there who's obviously trying to poke a drain or something. But, you know, I wouldn't go to America because I'd get shot at some point. How small is that man? I don't think he's small. I think it's... I think the water's just quite deep. Well, he does seem to have a very small body, doesn't he? Oh, yeah, got me thinking. But yeah, I wouldn't go to Australia either. Why wouldn't I go to Australia? Because I don't want to be driving around with a snake on the front of my car. I don't see the man, is he camouflaged? Very good, Carly. And the driver of this car didn't see the snake. Compared to the sign at the back of Luke's sign. We'll go back to him in a minute. Now this is a provisional driver because it's got a P on it, so it's basically a learner driver, but this car is being driven round with this snake attached to the front of the car. Yeah, Australia. Why would you? Yeah, I see what you mean. It's an interesting perspective. I wonder if his engine was hissing. Very good, Smiley. It's yeah, it's a bizarre picture of what the hell that was. So that was meanwhile in Australia. Next up, meanwhile in India. This is the last one. I'm trying to get a Russian one, but I just can't find any reliable Russian sources. And then of course I remembered there aren't any reliable Russian sources. So, Pfizer bivalent COVID shot may be linked to stroke, says US CDC, but asks people still to get boosted. What? The US Centre of Disease Control and Prevention and the Food and Drugs Administration said that US drug maker Pfizer and German partner biotech updated COVID-19 shot could be linked to a type of brain stroke in older adults. But please, still get the shot anyway. Russian reliable, exactly. I mean, that's not reliable, is it? It's bad for you, but please take it anyway. Brazil top court to investigate Bolsonaro's role in the riots in Brasilia. It's finding the news, reliable news source from there. That's the problem. That I can actually get easily, because setting this up takes hours. I mean, I have to watch the news every day, so that's minimum half an hour every day, and then I have to find the pictures for the news that I've written down every day, and then I have to go through the various things to get the American, Australian and Indian news from as well. So it takes up a lot of my time. So adding more to it, but what I may do is just, as I said last week, I may drop out, you know, I might drop India next week and put in Uzbekistan or something, I don't know. Because you've got to be in English as well, that's the other thing. I found plenty of Russian places, but they were in Russian, couldn't read it. Anyway, Brazil's top court to investigate Bolsonaro's role in alleged incitement of riots in Brasilia. Brazil's Supreme Court has agreed to investigate former President Bolsonaro in its investigation of the storming of the government buildings in Brasilia, and rightly so. Because, yeah. 2 injured as youth opens fire outside a liquor shop in Jakarta's Palembang. 2 people suffered bullet injuries after a youth opened fire near a liquor store in Jakarta's Palembang on Friday after a heated argument over the price of liquor. Now, I've never said this before, but India, sort your gun problem out. This is why you don't copy Americans. Ashram flyover closure. Now, I mentioned this last week. A slight traffic snarls on the weekend give relief to commuters. Cops suggest alternative routes. Right, so there's a main flyover in this city, town, whatever it is, and they've closed it for essential repair work for 40 odd days. And now the police are saying there are alternative routes. Please use alternative routes. Yeah, and that is classed as slight traffic. Slight traffic jams were witnessed on some routes on Sunday morning, which give breather to commuters who have been facing difficult time due to long traffic jams, and the Ashram flyover has been shut for 45 days. The flyover has been shut for the last leg of construction work linked with its D&D flyover. So yeah, that is a slight traffic problem. But it's India. Their traffic problems are beyond scary. Father of 6 is killed in a stampede whilst in a queue for subsidised flour. I mean, this is tragic. A 45-year-old man, a father to 6 children, died after limited availability of flour sparked a stampede at a government shop in Pakistan's Sindh region. You're queuing up for food because you can't afford food and you don't go home. And I thought catching the bus at 3 PM on a weekday was bad. Yeah. Is this the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing, so we won't do that. Trump appears in Indian news. Probe of Trump. I mean, I think just leave it there, don't you? 2020 election ends, brings case closer to possible criminal charges against him. The special grand jury in Atlanta has finished its work, bringing the case closer to possible criminal charges against Trump and others in connection with the 2020 US elections. So, but yeah, you don't want to probe Trump. Even the aliens wouldn't do that, would they? Now, I've been saying for a while that it doesn't matter whether the United Kingdom as a whole goes green like that, or we all die instantly and no one ever populates the place again, and it just goes to nature, and therefore there's no electricity, gas, petrol or anything being used, so that the whole United Kingdom and Ireland doesn't produce any carbon whatsoever. It'll make no difference whatsoever to the rest of the world. What we need to do is we need to get America, China, Russia and India sorted on the path of reducing carbon emissions. And to prove the point, flights delayed as dense fog persists in Delhi, leading to poor visibility in the national capital. A dense layer of fog shrouded Delhi and the surrounding areas of the national capital region on Tuesday, resulting in many flights of Delhi being delayed. It's not fog, it's smog caused by the industry in the area. Stray dogs, not necessarily the ones pictured. Just to clarify, I don't want to, incriminate these dogs from any injustice. But stray dogs attract a 7-year-old boy in Gujarat's Dahood. A stray dog attacked a 7-year-old boy in the area when he was flying kites with his 2 friends. I mean, what an innocent pastime. But yeah, stray dogs, it's a massive problem in many parts of the world. I mean, there was a poor woman who was killed in the United Kingdom this week by dogs. It doesn't happen very often. I didn't bother reporting it because it was just too tragic, just horrible. Now, India has a fairly successful program of space exploration and satellites and stuff like that. So no doubt they're going, look at the British, look at the Europeans, they can't even do what we can do. Western Europe's first attempt to launch a satellite into orbit fails. The first attempt to launch a satellite from Western Europe appeared to have failed early on Tuesday when Virgin Orbit said an anomaly had prevented its rocket from reaching orbit. And I bet the news channel was lapping it up. They also showed as well the bookshop in the UK with the Prince Harry and the How to Kill Your Family thing that made Indian news as well. It's just been ridiculed, isn't it, all over the world? It's amazing. WHO, which is the World Health Organization, urges travellers to wear masks as new COVID variant spreads. Again, for me, it's common sense. I've not been on a bus for a while, and that's mainly because I don't trust the other people on the bus. More people have got COVID. I don't want to catch COVID because I don't want to give it to my mum. My mum would literally pass away straight away if she got COVID. So I want to reduce the risk of her getting it. So I'm not putting myself in places where I'm at more risk of getting it. Not Doctor Who, just WHO. They urge countries should consider recommending that passengers wear masks given to the rapid spread of the latest Omicron subvariant of COVID-19. And again, it's common sense. And I've said for a long while that it should be mandatory on public transport to wear a mask. Because last year we were doing it and COVID didn't spike the way it's spiking now. Okay, it's not as serious as it was, but still, people are dying from it. But more importantly, people weren't getting flu either. And flu has come from nowhere and is now taking up a lot of space in hospitals and people off sick and days lost from not being able to work or anything like that. Who does it? We'll never know. Very good. So I agree with that, controversially, but because no one else does it, I ain't getting in a place where there's lots of people. Delhi government to construct 4.8 kilometres of elevated corridor to ease traffic. I mean, good God. We think the M25 is bad. We think the M60 is bad. We think the M6 is bad. But, Jesus. The Delhi government will construct an elevated corridor to ease traffic congestion in the area and provide smooth commuting experience to the people. That does sound like political BS, I'll be honest with you. But, yeah. Can you imagine doing that every day? Every single day. That's what you do, going to work and then coming home from work as well. Oh, it's just absolutely horrendous. So whilst they're building that, where do all the cars go? Well, if we go back to the earlier thing that we were looking at, there might be slight traffic snarls whilst they're building it. Slight traffic snarls. Oh dear me. Yeah, it's scary. It really is. What people put up with in different parts of the world, because the infrastructure isn't there, and that's one of the arguments about India. I was talking about India before, having a space program and everything, and the problem you've got is that they've got this space program, but they haven't got the money to build the infrastructure for the people, and it just beggars belief that they think going up into space is a good spend of money. And then there was also the thing about the COVID vaccines. They didn't have any money to buy COVID vaccines, but then they were launching rockets into space, and you're like, you've got to get your priorities right, haven't you? Really. Anyway, that is it for today. what we need to do is we need to find a hero and a villain for this week. Now, last week's hero and villain, the hero of the week was the bus driver in Hale, who got all his passengers off his bus while it burst into flames, and the villain of the week was Prince Harry. So, what we're going to go for... Hi Boris, what we're going to go for this week? Villain of the week. Well, we can't have Prince Harry again because that just gets boring. I think hero of the week has got to be the bookseller. So I'm going to put hero of the week. Why does this pen not work properly? Hero of the week. Bookseller. Harry plus how kill fam. Is it? That's hero of the week, isn't it? Yeah, we're coming to the end now. Villain teacher who knew the 6-year-old had a gun. Yeah, but she got shot, so I feel a bit bad calling her a villain. So much to choose from. You've got Putin, you've got I mean, you could say villain of the week might well be the seal, thinking about it, because it's not where he should be, and he's eating the man's fish, and he's getting out of pocket. So should the seal be the villain of the week? Da, da, da. Or do we go for everyone's favourite, well, influencer? It's probably the cutest villain we could have. Yeah, that's true. I'm assuming you're talking about the seal still, because you've got the time delay. I hope you are anyway. I don't want to be thinking about Mr. Tate. Thank you very much. He doesn't deserve an extra title. Okay then, that's a good point, well made, Smiley. So we'll go to the seal then. So we'll have a cute villain of the week this week. We will go for the seal that's eating the fish stock. So a villain, seal in fishing pond. What else did we have last week? Oh, my personal highlight of the week. Last week it was feeding swans. I've not had a personal high week. That was the worst delay. Yes, it was. That was the worst delay ever. Well, I'll try and think of a personal highlight of the week. Personal highlight of the week. I'm going to say thank you very much for contributing. Angela O'Kane, Smiley Mac, JT. It wasn't in for long, to be fair. Carly Holmes. What else have we had? A lot of chat between Carly and Smiley, which is good. Keeps me entertained when we're joining in. J Morris, 23. Can we get a local report from the Wigan Observer? If you're still there, I write in the Wigan Observer every week. Boris Johnson. We had someone else in as well, didn't we? I'm sure we did. Did I imagine that? I've had a sleep while I've been doing this. I've had a nap somewhere. I'm sure there was someone else. Yeah. Okay. Okay, maybe not. You don't think you'll be here next week, unfortunately. I hope that's not a permanent situation. I think more of a case of you've got something else to do. But you can always watch it and comment in the comments section. If you wanted to, because that'd be nice. But yeah, we've had 89 views. we've got 7 concurrent viewers, we've got 4 likes, which is nice. Don't know about dislikes. In fact, the highest we've had was very recently, 8. The average has been 7, and 6 and 7 seems to be the average. Oh, just the 1 week then you're back. Thank God for that. When you said, I don't think I'll be in next week, unfortunately, you had me thinking some horrible tragic thing going on. I'm like, oh my God, no. So, phew. Average view is 6.8 minutes as well. Well, 6 minutes, 8 seconds. Bear in mind, some people will come in and go, oh my God, it's a fat Englishman with a northern accent talking rubbish, wearing a really crap shirt. And then other people will be like, yeah, I'll watch this all the way through because I really enjoy this. And that's what it's about. And like I said before, it's to get the discussion going rather than anything else. 2 hours 16 minutes we've been on as well, which is pretty decent. 2 hours 50 minutes, sorry, it's pretty decent, that's good. And we've had no drop frames either, even though I've got all this going on behind me. So yeah, these are one of my favourite things. I'm missing it for work and other things I can't help. Well, no, but that's how things go. And it'll keep moving, as long as I keep doing these anyway. So this year it's on a Saturday, next year it might be on a Sunday, but then there will be somewhere where it'll stay the same because it's, whatchamacallit. Oh no, it'll jump 2 days, won't it? It'll jump 2 days, because it's, what's it called? Leap year. Yeah, leap year, that's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, that is it for this week, for what a week that was. This is a bit like the conversation we were having earlier, where I still don't understand. Most complicated conversation we were having, where was where is it? Did I dream that as well? Oh, there we go. From work from home to work is home. From work from home, but only if you have to, but do work from home, but don't work from home. I'm like, what? And my brain just kind of went like that. So I do like the background. Yeah, we've upped it. We've changed it this year. Got different. We've got different things going on. Oh, I'm on the delay now. Hang on, let me get rid of the delay. There we go. Different things going on as well. So we've got like the days going on. I changed the day. The Taki TV logo's changed and it's on a different side. The live logo's changed and is up at the top, and the thing saying at time of broadcast is at the bottom. We've now got scrolling with the date on and everything, and yeah, it's a completely different thing, and we've included extra countries as well because we are inclusive. Anyway, it's time to go and get some gin. It's 21 minutes past. That's the problem now with this. I don't. Well, I say a problem. It's a good thing, I suppose. I don't drink as much alcohol when I'm doing this because it's already nearly 10:30. So yeah. So thank you, Boris. Thank you, Smiley, and everyone else. If you're watching from afar, it is appreciated. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Sleep well. Have a good day at work, whatever. And I will see you again next week. And T, if you're on, yeah, it's all good. So till next time, when we'll do this again next Saturday, and we'll see what a week next week was.